Welcome back to the deep dive. I want you to just think about a specific moment, a time where you felt like you weren't quite in control.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you were at a dinner party, everything's fine, and then someone makes a tiny comment about politics, your job, whatever, and you just snap.
You go from 0 to 100.
Exactly. Or, the other way, you're on a diet, you're being so good, and then it's 2 a.m. and you find yourself eating cake over the kitchen sink.
The classic "I wasn't myself last night" moment.
That's the one. We treat these moments like they're glitches in the system errors.
Right.
But the material we're covering today, Romancing the Shadow by Connie Zweig and Steve Wolf, it makes a really bold claim.
It does.
It says that in those moments, you were yourself. In fact, you might have been more yourself than you are during the rest of your polite, well-behaved day.
And that's a really confronting idea, isn't it? We're taught to see those outbursts as failures. But Zweig and Wolf, they argue these are messages from what they call the dark room of the psyche.
The dark room. I love that image.
It's perfect. Because a dark room is hard to see in, yes. But it's also where images are developed. It's where the picture starts to become clear.
So the mission of this deep dive isn't really to become a better person in that self-help sense.
No, not at all. We're not here to optimize your habits. This is about self-retrieval. We're going down into the basement to find the parts of you that you locked away.
And to do that, we have to talk about the shadow. Now, I think when people hear shadow, they think, Jungian jargon or...
They're serial killers.
Yeah.
Evil deeds.
Right. But the authors define it much more broadly.
They do. They define it simply as the unlived life.
The unlived life.
It's not just evil. It has everything that didn't fit into your self-image. Your rage, your jealousy, but also your hidden creativity, your power, your independence. The shadow is the stranger living inside you.
And to really get this, the book uses this central metaphor that I think everybody knows, the picture of Dorian Gray.
It is the ultimate metaphor for this.
So, for anyone who missed that day in English class, Dorian Gray, he's a young guy who makes a wish. He wants to stay young and beautiful forever. And he gets it. To the world, he is just perfect.
That's the persona.
The math.
It's who we are when we answer the phone or how we act at a job interview. It's the "I'm a nice person" or "I'm a good parent" script that we run.
But Dorian has this portrait of himself hidden away in the attic. And while his own face stays perfect, the painting, it takes the hits.
Every time he's cruel, every time he's greedy, the face in the painting twists. It gets older, it gets hideous.
It's carrying the burden of his reality.
And so his ego doesn't have to. And the author's point is that we all have an attic. We all have a portrait. We spend so much psychological energy just guarding that attic door.
Yeah.
Terrified someone might peek inside.
And see that we're not as nice or calm or generous as we pretend to be.
Exactly.
But here's the thing that really struck me in the text. By locking away all the bad stuff in that painting, we accidentally lock away the good stuff too, the gold.
That is the tragedy of the shadow. You cannot selectively numb the human experience. If you repress your aggression because you think it's bad, well, you often repress your drive, your ability to protect yourself.
You become harmless, but you also become helpless.
And if you repress your sadness, you lose your capacity for deep joy. You just end up living this flat, gray life.
So let's trace this back. How does this split even happen? Because, my toddler doesn't have a shadow yet. If he's mad, the whole grocery store knows he's mad.
Right. Babies are wholeness personified.
Yeah.
But the shadow, it starts to form through what the authors call the Faustian bargain.
A deal with the devil.
To a child, it feels that dramatic. Think about it. A child is completely dependent on their parents for survival. They need food, shelter, love.
And parents have rules? They have things they can't handle.
Big boys don't cry.
Nice girls don't get angry, don't be so loud.
Exactly. So imagine a little boy. He falls, he cries because it hurts. But his father looks at him with disgust and says, "Stop that. Don't be a baby." The boy's brain runs a survival calculation. It's like, my sadness makes Dad withdraw his love. If I lose his love, I might die. Therefore, sadness is dangerous.
So he takes his sadness, a totally natural response, and he just shoves it into the shadow bag.
He trades his authenticity for approval. That is the bargain. And we do this thousands of times. A girl learns that being bossy, which might just be leadership potential, is unlovable.
She hides her power.
And by the time we're 20, we have this very polished persona and a very, very heavy bag dragging behind us.
Okay, so we need a way to manage that bag. The book has this story from the Sufi tradition that explains it perfectly. The master and the butler.
This is one of the most useful frameworks in the whole book. So imagine your psyche is a great big house. The master of the house is your authentic core.
Okay.
But the master goes away on a long journey.
And leaves the butler in charge?
The butler's the ego. His job is just maintenance, answer the door, pay the bills, make the house look respectable to the neighbors. He's the middleman.
But the master is gone for years.
And slowly, the butler forgets he's a servant. He starts to think he is the master. He starts running the house entirely for appearances.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the messy servants, the passionate ones, the artistic ones. So he locks them in the basement.
And the house becomes this rigid, sterile place. But those servants in the basement, the shadow figures, they don't just go away.
No, they start to riot. The authors call them henchmen. They start banging on the pipes, tripping the butler on the stairs, starting fires in the kitchen.
And that's the moment you snap at the waiter. That's a henchman breaking out.
Precisely. The butler, your ego, is screaming, "I wasn't myself. I'm a polite person." But the henchman is just trying to get attention.
So the symptom, whether it's anxiety or rage, is really the psyche trying to restore balance.
It's a knock on the door saying, "The master needs to come home. This butler is a tyrant."
Okay, so if I'm the butler and I've been running the show for 30 years, I probably have no clue what's in my basement.
None at all.
The book says you can't look at the shadow directly. It's invisible to the ego. So how do we spot it?
You need a mirror. And Zweig and Wolf give us a few very specific mirrors. The biggest one is projection.
The old "you spot it, you got it" rule.
It is. And it's so annoying because nobody wants to admit it. But think about someone you really dislike.
Okay.
Not someone who hurt you, but someone who just rubs you the wrong way. You're at a party and there's a guy who's just dominating the conversation. He's loud, he's bragging, and you are seething.
You're thinking, he's so arrogant, I can't stand him.
The intensity of that reaction is the clue. If he were just boring, you'd tune him out. But your emotional voltage is high because he's acting out a part of you that you have repressed.
So I've suppressed my own arrogance or my own desire to be the center of attention.
Your butler has banned that behavior.
Yeah.
So when you see it walking around in someone else, you feel threatened. You project your shadow onto him so you can attack it out there instead of dealing with it in here.
Another leak they mention is slips of the tongue. There was this one story in the text about cufflinks that made me physically cringe.
It's a tragic example, but it illustrates the point perfectly.
Yeah.
So a man gets a gift from his father-in-law, who is this very wealthy, controlling, domineering guy.
Right. And the gift is a pair of expensive cufflinks.
The man is trying to be grateful. He's showing them to a friend later. He intends to say, "Look at these cufflinks."
But his tongue slips.
He says, "Look at these handcuffs."
Oh, you cannot take that back.
He was mortified. His ego, the butler, was trying to be polite, but the shadow spoke the truth. It said, "I feel trapped. I feel owned by this man."
The body tells the truth when the mind is lying.
So often.
The book then zooms out from these moments to whole personality types. They change the metaphor from the house to King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, this is a great way to visualize internal conflict. Your psyche's Camelot, the king, the true self, should be at the head of the table, but often the king is asleep.
And a specific knight, a shadow character, stages a coup and takes the throne.
Exactly. Let's talk about the father's daughter archetype, the Athena type.
This one is based on Connie Zweig's own story.
It is. This often forms when a daughter grows up with a mother who is disempowered. Maybe she's depressed, passive, a victim. The daughter looks at her mother and vows, "I will never be like that."
So she turns to her father. She identifies with the masculine.
Intellect, power, achievement. She becomes Athena, the warrior goddess born from her father's head. She puts on armor.
Which makes her super successful in the world.
Externally, yes, a CEO, a high achiever. But the cost is in the shadow. To become the warrior, she had to banish her own vulnerability, her own softness.
She sees it as weakness.
And the text warns that this woman can become a Medusa to others.
A Medusa.
If you come to her with vulnerability, if you cry or need help, she might just turn you to stone with a look of contempt because she can't tolerate your weakness. She's terrified of her own.
And then you have the flip side, the mother's son, the pure Aeternus.
The eternal youth. This was Steve Wolf's story. This happens when a boy identifies more with his mother, maybe because his father was absent or harsh.
Peter Pan.
That's him. He's charming, creative, spiritual. He flies high, but he has no feet. The Puer struggles to land in reality. He jumps from job to job, relationship to relationship.
And he has a deep shadow fear of Kronos.
Kronos, the titan who ate his children. Psychologically, Kronos is father time, structure, limits, reality, bills and deadlines.
The Puer feels that if he commits to a job or a marriage, he's being eaten by reality.
He wants to stay in the realm of potential forever. He's a beautiful kite with no string.
What's wild is how these patterns aren't just random, they're inherited. The authors talk about the transmission of sin.
Not sin in a religious sense, but in a psychological sense, it's the transmission of unresolved trauma. Parents unknowingly shame their kids in the exact same spots where they were shamed.
This creates what the book calls a worm in the gut.
A core feeling of unworthiness, a black goop of shame. And to manage it, families will often unconsciously hire one child to be the scapegoat.
The black sheep.
We feel sorry for the black sheep, the addict, the rebel, but we miss their function. The family needs the black sheep. If Uncle Joey is the mess, then the rest of us get to be the good ones.
Joey carries the shadow for the whole system.
Right. If Joey got his act together, the rest of the family might actually fall apart. They'd have to look at their own issues.
Wow, that's a heavy burden. And to survive it, we build what the book calls shields. The one that really stood out was the money shield.
Oh, the money shield is fascinating. The authors point out that people are far more willing to discuss their sex lives than their bank balance.
It's the last taboo, isn't it?
It really is. Because money has become this symbol for our value, our very existence. Some people hoard it to feel safe. Others spend it like crazy to buy love. It's all a defense against inner emptiness.
There's a case study about this, the story of Roger the thief.
Yes. Roger. This story is so key to understanding how to work with the shadow. Roger had a compulsion to steal from his father's business.
On the surface, he's just greedy, a criminal.
But shadow work asks, what's the behavior trying to achieve? Roger's father was cold, distant, obsessed with money. The only thing the father valued was cash.
So, by taking the cash,
he was unconsciously trying to take his father's love. He was stealing the only form of value available in that house.
You can't just tell a guy like that to stop it.
No, the energy has to go somewhere. You have to honor the archetype. The authors connected Roger to Hermes.
The god of thieves.
Yes, but Hermes is also the messenger of the gods. He's the only one who can travel between the underworld and the upper world.
So Roger has this Hermes energy.
And you can't destroy energy. You can only transform it.
Yeah.
By accepting his inner thief, Roger was able to pivot. He eventually became a therapist.
A therapist? That's a huge jump.
Is it? A therapist is a guide between worlds. They help people navigate their own underworlds. They deal in secrets. Roger used his ability to move in the dark, but in a pro-social way. He found the gold in his shadow.
Which brings us to dating, or as the book calls it, shadow work on the fly.
This section will change how you see relationships. They argue that dating is rarely about finding a person. It's about finding a mirror.
They use the myth of Apollo and Daphne. Apollo chases, Daphne runs away.
The classic pursuer and distancer dynamic. We've all been there. But the insight is that the shadow looks for people who will trigger our childhood wounds. We're not looking for happiness, we're looking for what's familiar.
The search for shelter.
Yes. If you had a critical parent, you'll find yourself drawn to a critical partner. Your shadow says, I know this game. This feels like home. We fall in love with a movie playing in our heads, not the person across the table.
And when that person chews with their mouth open, the movie breaks.
And we feel betrayed. But we were never seeing them in the first place. We were seeing our own projection.
This really connects to the part about singlehood and the assassin archetype, the case study of Bonnie.
Bonnie. She desperately wanted to get married, but she kept getting the ick.
The ick is the perfect term for the assassin at work.
She'd meet a great guy, but by date 3, she'd fixate on something tiny. He breathes too loud. His hands are weird. He used the wrong emoji.
And poof, it was over.
She thought she just had high standards. But the authors reveal she was possessed by an assassin, an Artemis archetype, the virgin huntress who lives alone in the woods.
But why would she have an assassin if she consciously wanted love?
Because deep down in her shadow, she was terrified of losing her independence in a relationship. Her unconscious hired an inner hitman to take out any suitor before they got too close.
The assassin was protecting her.
Exactly. So until she owns her need for independence, until she realizes she can set boundaries, she'll just keep sabotaging.
Listening to all this, the family patterns, the unconscious saboteurs, it sounds like, Just an exhausting amount of work. Why do it? Why not just keep the door locked?
Because holding that door shut takes all your energy. And more importantly, living without your shadow means living in black and white when you could be living in color. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is wholeness. If you cut off your shadow, you cut off your battery pack. The authors are so clear about this. The shadow contains the gold. Reclaim your inner Puer and you get your joy back. Reclaim your beast, your aggression, and you stop being a doormat. You learn to say no.
You become a complete human being.
It all connects to that final, haunting question the book leaves us with. The concept of the unlived life.
Yeah.
This is the question to ask yourself. Imagine you're 80 years old, sitting on your porch. What will you regret not having done? What part of yourself did you lock in the basement and never let out?
That's a terrifying thought.
It is. But the book gives us a compass to find that unlived life. And it's a strange one. They say, look at what you judge most in others.
Would I judge?
Yes. That neighbor you think is too selfish, that friend who's too loud, that colleague who is too ambitious.
Yeah.
That judgment is pointing directly to your unlived life. You judge their selfishness because you're starving for permission to be a little selfish yourself. You judge their loudness because you've been silencing your own voice.
So, my judgment is actually a wish in disguise.
It's a roadmap.
Yeah.
Next time you feel that irrational annoyance, don't just stew in it. Ask yourself, what are they doing that I secretly wish I could do?
That is a complete paradigm shift. It turns the annoying guy at the party into your teacher.
It does. And that is what it means to romance the shadow. It's not about becoming dark. It's about becoming real.
Well, I have a lot to think about, and probably some internal apologies to make. Thank you for guiding us through the dark room.
It's a pleasure. Better to face the portrait than to become it.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, thanks for taking the plunge with us. Keep an eye on your shadows, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.